Welcome to What the Biz, where we talk about building successful businesses, balancing life, and all the WTB in between. With your hosts,
I'm Brigitte Vector.
And I'm Dan Prochko. What is up? What's up? How you doing?
Hello.
I think I've seen you like 4 times in the last 2 weeks, which is more than has happened in a long time.
I know. Yes, in-person sightings. Yes.
Right, exactly. And so thank you very much for coming to my improv comedy show. That was awesome. So thank you very, very much.
Love it.
We had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You brought some guests with you. Did they really enjoy it? I mean, they said it in front of me, so I don't know if that was true. So I hope they did.
Yeah, no, they did. They were actually talking about some other venues that they visited in maybe some bigger cities, and that they enjoyed this one better. They said that it was Yes. You guys got rave reviews, said that they laughed more at this one than they did at the other ones.
Oh, well, I'm so happy that they enjoyed it. Yeah. That's great.
And they commented just because I think the fact that you guys are that improv, right? It isn't so scripted where some of the others have sometimes more of a script. And so just makes it a little more fun when you guys are just going off the cuff. And I give you guys props. Like there were times that you guys were in it and I was like, I would have literally just went brain dead at that exact moment and had nothing left to say.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. A lot of people are, in awe of it. And it's really neat because like anything else, there's rules. We have rules, in improv. And so long as you play by them, there's always something else to say. There's always something to add. And there's a way of interacting with each other so that things are interesting. It's really cool. It's not scripted, but there are rules, which make it a lot of fun. Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah. Cool. So what else you been up to?
Oh, still onboarding the new employee. So it's good, going well. But you know how that is. It's time consuming as the CEO trying to wear all the hats. So it kind of opened my eyes that empowering other team members to do some of this training would probably be a really good thing for me to do. So yeah, today we actually started like weekly check-ins or daily check-ins with all the team. And so I'm kind of giving them their marching orders. Like, do you have questions on anything on your list today? And what can you guys connect on? So I'm hoping that kind of eliminates me being the bottleneck in a lot of ways. Because when they're waiting on me to answer things, some days you're not going to get an answer right away.
Yeah, I remember what that, and I know what that feels like. Not like I remember like it doesn't happen to me. It still happens to me all the time. I don't know why I said it that way, but yeah. Oh man, it's just like, and you're not working on that. Why? It's kind of like, that's what goes through my head. It's like, or you're not working on something else. Why?
Yep.
So it's kind of funny, but yeah, totally.
So yeah,
cool.
That's going good. Yeah.
My end has been new client onboardings. We've had three new clients.
Awesome.
And one of our existing clients has asked to deepen relationship with some automation stuff. So we're in the throes of getting all of that attached to their current environment and everything, and testing and review. And we're like 2 days into what I hope is done by the end of tomorrow. So I got a lot I got to do tonight still. But yeah, it's fun because it's automation. I don't know, something about the technical, like fun little like connecting things together and auto triggering. Like it's cool because client gets to get more done without literally putting the work in. They're having a lot of issues with sales right now. Follow-ups, not like that sales is bad. It's just they don't do follow-ups as well as they think they should. And so adding in a little bit of automation, while it's not that personal phone call touch, but not everybody picks up their phone, at least there's something else going on that has that personalized touch that allows that touch point to potentially get that engagement in a phone call. So that's what we're helping them with. And we're going to be tracking really closely to see if we raise their sales close rates and quoting rates. So that's what that's the whole point. So yeah, it's going to be cool.
That's awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
We've tackled a few consultation calls and we've got a few diagnostic reviews to do. So where we're going to actually just go in and we review their QuickBooks, give them a full action plan, of anything that that is potentially costing them money at the end of the day. So if something's not right in their accounting software, so whether they work with us or not, they get that great action plan. And hopefully these convert into ongoing clients that, we're kind of chatting with right now. Locally, we have a Kalamazoo Business Network page, and it's a group, and I know that you're on that. But one of them actually found me from that group because I got tagged quite a few times, which thank you to everybody that tagged me. She's like, you come with rave reviews. And I'm like, well, that's great. We try our best. So, there is some huge power in these local business groups of business owners supporting each other. And we've even gotten referrals to some that aren't in our specific area that I know other local bookkeeping teams that I've, passed on to them. So it's all a give and take, wonderful relationship. So good stuff.
Yeah. If you're talking about the most recent posts or whatever, I seem to remember one from the last couple days where I commented on it, even though I think I saw your name and you tagged about 20 times before I even commented, because I was like a day late on it or whatever. And it was just like every other comment's like, Brigitte, talk to Brigitte, talk to Brigitte, talk to Brigitte, get Brigitte, get Vector Financial, go here, go here. It was just really funny. It was awesome. That's awesome.
No, it is.
Build a name for yourself.
She actually messaged me today and she's like, I just sent you access to my QuickBooks. And between when we talked to now, I've seen 3 more tags for you. So maybe I'm making the right choice. I was like, yes. So
that's awesome. Making a name. Yeah, really cool. Stuff. Yeah. So today we're going to try something different today a little bit. We've been talking about a lot of evergreen topics, and today we're going to talk about something that relates to some Michigan specific news, but I think it's an area where we've heard about it before and can be impacting elsewhere, and there's some learnings from it for everybody, which is really neat. So you're going to tee this up, right?
I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great timely thing because even though it is Michigan focused, I think this issue can be really probably found anywhere. So to reference the article, I know that other states have a similar thing, but there is a Small Business Association of Michigan, and they do a really good job of just keeping information out there for business owners to just kind of know what's going on the back end. So not even just legislative views, but there are a lot that come out of that. So this article kind of caught, Dan and my eye with some changes that are on the docket. They've kind of, I think, come up previously. There's a couple of, cases or court cases that are being reviewed right now in Michigan Supreme Court that really could impact the food service industry. And reading through this, I know that I had my own personal opinions around this of, kind of as I'm reading it thinking, ooh, there might be a deeper issue here for these restaurant business owners that might need to be addressed. But it also gave me the thought process of, man, we are one legislative ruling away at all times from direct impacts to small business owners. And just kind of talking through it today of, what this is saying. So, just a high level overview is essentially, depending on how this ruling goes, they're looking to eliminate, the tip credit that restaurant owners get and requiring that a minimum wage be in place for the restaurant workers that does not take that tip credit into consideration. It's a pretty substantial tip credit that restaurant owners are getting. And so this will have a direct impact. And reading through this article, it even talks about, imposing sick time mandates. So if they have 10 or more workers, that they are required to have 72 hours of paid sick time annually. And I know both sides of the fence, there's good and bad for this, right? We need to be supporting our workers since they support the businesses, but it does have a direct impact on operations. And I think what really caught my eye in this was the amount of business owners. 92% of Michigan restaurants would have to raise their prices. That is huge. And 40% would either look to sell or close their business. Could you
Well, I
imagine
think,
the impact?
yeah. So for me, the second metric is a bit more eye opening. I mean, if a restaurant is required to pay minimum wage, that's not already factored into their food. So that makes total sense that 92 would have to raise the prices. Like that doesn't surprise me. It's the 40% that would just walk away from the business, either sell or shut doors. That's boggling to me. That's almost half. It's really close to half of all restaurants or tip related, businesses, bars, etc., would just be like, no, we're done. We're out just because we don't have tipping. That to me is really surprising. And I mean, we were talking before, and the reason it's surprising to me is that if you have a great experience or if you have a great service, you're providing a good customer experience, where people are loyal to what you have going on and want to experience it, if the structure changes to not have tipping, I don't know that it would impact. I mean, there'd be some weirdness at first, but overall, would it really impact people coming out to restaurants, et cetera? Because I'll be honest, the tipping whole thing, super awkward at times. Who's been at that dinner with a group of friends, and it's like, oh yeah, we're all together, et cetera. Somebody goes one check, and then there you are, like splitting this and then trying to get tips from everybody. And there's that one guy who's like, yeah, 15%. Like that's where I'm at. And then there's these other people that are like, hey, we're post-COVID. It's like 25-30%, everybody, So I don't know. I kind of feel like this change, if it happened, might be for the better, I'm just going to put a hot take out there. Like no more tipping. Great. I mean, it's not to say you can't tip either. I mean, drop a 20 on the table, whatever. But if everything's included in the price, honestly, we can now just focus on the experience. We don't have to worry about at the end being like, how much was this experience worth? Was it worth a 20% tip? 22? Maybe I should go to 19 to show my displeasure at the fact that I didn't get enough napkins. It's like, I don't know. I think about it, and if it's all built in, there isn't tip required, the restaurants, the wait staff, everybody just focus on that experience to make it consistent, and at the quality level that we want. We don't have to focus on buttering up to a certain table and doing whatever else. It's like, no, there's a set experience. Here's what it is, and here's the cost, and there it is. It's all built in. I don't know. That's my hot take. Maybe you disagree, but that's where I'm at on that.
Honestly, I feel like it'll bring back just authentic human connection, right? Because you just hit it on the head of like, okay, are they really like buttering up? Are they trying to, you know what I mean? And if they're just great at their job and great in their customer experience, they've already earned that higher wage anyway, and they shouldn't be penalized by somebody that doesn't want to tip. And I think it actually would improve the whole experience and the quality of workers that are in those roles because they're getting paid what they
Totally.
should. Yeah, 1,000,000%.
Yeah. I mean,
And
because think about it
more.
already. If you're like cook staff, you already get a wage.
Mm-hmm.
But many restaurants tip out the cook staff on top of that wage. You know what I mean? So it's almost like I don't know, there's some subsidy going on. I was about to make some analogy and I can't figure it out in my head that fast. My brain doesn't work that fast. But it's like the wait staff is working really hard only to, like, not that the cook staff aren't, they really are. Like, you're hot. I've been in a kitchen. I've worked a kitchen before. So I know what that is. Cleaned those kitchens. It is hard. They deserve a wage. But think about wait staff. They have to deal with unruly customers. They're on their feet the whole time. Okay. If somebody in the kitchen makes a mistake, who has to deal with the brunt of that? It's the wait staff. You know what I mean? It's not the kitchen. It's the wait staff. And that impacts the tip that somebody's going to receive. But the kitchen staff still gets a wage while the wait staff is going to get less. Like there's some inequity going on there that I think requiring minimum wages, and I get it's a hot take. I get there's a lot of restaurateurs that aren't going to like that. But I think it's more about if you focus on customer service and understand your numbers and what you actually sell, then, this can be overcome pretty simply in my mind.
I really feel for restaurant owners. I feel like they have a very hard uphill battle in owning a restaurant because there's like two different levels here, right? You're either going to appeal to the masses and those that can afford the experience that you're giving, right? Or you have the restaurants that are, that high level charging that high level, but they're always dealing with whatever's happening to people in their households with the economy, right? So they're trying to also balance that when you own a restaurant. But I think you just hit it, where if you are giving the experience, people are going to find that discretionary spending money to show up in your restaurant. Because I don't have the exact stats and I probably should have pulled it, but even with economy dips, people still find the resources to have at least a dinner out every month. Like it's just there. They find it for the most part.
Oh, sure. I mean, look through the pandemic. I mean, how much did takeout go up just because we were forced to stay at home? I mean, and I think it went up. It wasn't like people stayed home and cooked more just because they were home. No, they actually ate out more, than they did before. I mean, so yeah, I think even when things change or economies are down, like there are certain ways that this industry is resilient in some way. And I really think it's the restaurants and the owners that don't understand what they have going on and don't understand their experience. They're the ones that fail. When they don't know their numbers, don't know their experience, they're the ones closing their doors because they're not focusing on the right things.
Yep. And I think it comes down to the hot topics for any business. It doesn't matter if you're a restaurant or not. If you don't know your numbers and the way to build your pricing to have a profit margin, and if you don't know what sets you apart from your competition and if you don't have that thing that makes you special, it's going to be very hard to be successful. So they would feel this impact because they're likely pricing their food and services right at the restaurant with that tip credit taken into account, and so they're pricing lower than what they should be, and they're going to feel that direct impact a lot.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think it's eye-opening how one small change can have such a dramatic impact across the board. And it makes me just wonder though, because society norm, right? No matter where you go across this country, it's pretty common that you are tipping. And I don't know that every state gives tip credits, but I'm assuming that do. But I think too, an all-inclusive that we go to, right? They're in Jamaica. They do not allow tipping because they do not want any guest to be treated different than any other guest. And it's all about the experience. And so it doesn't matter if you were going to lay down a huge tip or not, they just don't allow it. So every single guest has the same experience across the whole resort, and they pay their staff really well. And that's how they maintain the fabulous staff that keeps the people coming back. So I thought about that when I was reading this, of maybe we should follow that mold. Like maybe there is actually a good reason to make a shift like this and not have tipping. And then you're actually going to maybe make more in your restaurant if you can make the shift.
Yeah. I mean, because thinking about it from being a bartender and a waiter in the past is like, you make snap judgments about tables. It's horrible. Like, I'm not saying that this is right, but you make snap judgments of, is this table going to tip well or not, etc. And am I going to give more attention here or there? Now, I wasn't one of those that did, but it was just like, I don't know that I'm going to get for my effort the same thing here than I do over there. I mean, I'm a pretty ideological guy. So if I believe in high quality of service, I like the place I'm working, I'm going to do, the best I can. And that's what I did. But there were those tables where you're like, are you going to give me what I think I deserve? And some did, some didn't. And it totally sucks. And so I do know that there were some people on the team that neglected some tables, because they didn't think that they were going to get what they deserved, or a table was hard or a pain in the butt, and so they were like, you know what, I'm going to forego the tips and just not give them the attention because they're just a pain in my butt. And it's like, that's horrible. Like, I don't think that should be on anyone's mind. And I really think that tipping is the reason that stuff happens. If everybody just has a wage, and it's something you can live on, then it becomes, okay, how many times did we go to each table? You have like actual metrics for your staff to follow. Like, were we there every so many minutes? Did we provide this kind of experience? And you start to then see, when you don't, that's when people give bad reviews, or that's when, a manager gets called over. And so it becomes really easy. It becomes easier to train and to create consistent experiences. So I'm totally here for it. I'm totally here for it. I'm not discounting the headache that this causes. To go overnight from, like, let's just say burgers now are about $15, $18. Okay. Let's say it's a $15 burger. Those places still exist. This article, the SBAM that we're going to share in our notes, said that some places would think about raising costs by 25%. That's a big leap, but not really. If you think about it, a $15 burger becomes $18.75, 19 bucks, but you don't have to tip after that. That's a $20 lunch right there, like done, I don't know. Like that seems pretty much in line right nowadays in terms of like, if I can get out of lunch for 20 bucks, I'm in, let's go.
And that's what you would have been paying tipping for the most part anyway. So it's already, you don't have to think about it anymore.
No, exactly. You were going to tip 25%, if not more, maybe 20. Okay. So for those cheapskates that are lower, maybe you're going to pay a little bit more, but it's about what you'd be paying to go out anyway. You're right. So I don't know. I think overall, when they see there's no tip line and you're just there, you're like, oh, okay, actually that's reasonable. Done. That's pretty good, or like burger and a beer that makes it to $25. Okay. That's perfect. Like, I don't know what's wrong with that. So,
I think a phase-in approach would make sense here. So it's not a dramatic hit on either side.
Interesting. Yeah.
I think lessening the credit and then like doing a phase, like getting to the point where they can ease into. I think workers are going to have a hard time with it. I don't know that they will, because obviously some make very good tips, right? And so they would probably feel what that impact would be. But I think the restaurant should make it up in higher wages for the quality people.
Yeah, I think that's where, if places are raking it in on tips, that's where the cost for the food or the drink or the experience goes way up, because that's the experience that they're providing. So maybe there is a cover at the door at some places because it's an exclusive place, or the drinks go from, I guess here in Kalamazoo, drinks are like, what, $12 for a cocktail? They go from 12 to 18 in those places, or even as high as 20. I mean, that's how high they are in Chicago. You want a cocktail in Chicago, you're paying $20 minimum, in a major city. So, if you go from 12 to 18 or $20, now you can afford to pay that bartender that creates that amazing experience to earn those tips, to earn that wage that they're worth. Because otherwise what's going to happen is they're just going to leave. They're going to leave your restaurant. So that those restaurants would have to up their rates to keep that decor, that ambiance, and that experience. So I think it would work anyway. It would just happen in that way. It's just the customers would have to be aware that, oh yeah, this is what I'd be spending anyway. Like this
educational piece.
Yeah, it's that educational piece. So I don't know that a phased approach could happen for that reason, because it's like, what would happen? Prices would go up like 15%, and then that tip section, instead of like 18, 20, 25, it drops down to like 10, 12, 15. Like that's just weird, because I remember the days when it used to be you would tip, like 15% or 12, like 18, and like 20 was amazing. And today it's more like 20 is the low end, which is really weird. So
I think it's more phase in for the credit for the restaurants I'm talking about. Like lessening the percentage of credit that they get, but they can do their price increases all at one time. It would just help them with.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Get rid of tip, but have that credit ratchet up little by little on the back end.
Then
I never think policy that way. That makes so much sense.
Yeah, it wouldn't be so much of a hit right away to the restaurants. They could figure it out. I think it would help with retention, and honestly, customer retention too. I think there's just a lot of positive around it, but it is a huge change in thinking, because we are very accustomed, especially in this Michigan area, to what is currently happening and has been happening for a long time. I would expect higher profit margins for restaurants, though.
I would too. I would believe that would happen. I would totally believe that would happen. Yeah. And like anything else, people can still leave a tip on the table. You just don't put it on that check anymore. You just don't, and done. Or have a tip line there anyway, but everybody knows the prices went up. So tipping, nobody's going to, fewer people are going to tip on top of the check anymore, because they know prices went up like crazy. So, I don't know.
I think I'd be surprised. I bet there's a lot of people that still drop some sort of tip on that line. Oh, totally.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Well, especially if you're the person that's like, I'll take the check for the whole table. Not only are you not magnanimous, but now everybody's looking to see, are you going to tip on top? There's that social pressure on top, or if you're with friends out for dinner, are they putting in more tip on top of this? I want to look like I have more. I'm going to put a tip on there, that whole thing.
Yeah. No, I think this is just a very unique article, and just eye-opening that, beyond just what impact things can have on businesses, but also like, are restaurants that far off in their pricing that this would have that much of a, almost 50%? Like, that's I can't
I mean,
even
that sounds-
imagine driving down the road and seeing half the
Yeah.
restaurants closed.
I mean, I think that's exactly what it is. I think that many of them don't have the pricing where it should be and don't have a focus on the experience the way they should. And so they have these snap judgments that are like, oh, if I have to do that, I'd have to close. There's no way my customers are not smart enough to realize that they don't have to tip anymore when I raise prices 25%. It's like, that's a crazy like line of thinking. Like they don't think their customers are smart enough to catch on. So they have to close because nobody's going to come and spend money. That's really weird. That doesn't make any sense to me. You know, it's think about all these people that are out there coupon clipping, looking for the sales, understanding a BOGO half off, you know, or a buy one or buy two, get one, and understanding that that's like 30%, you know, like it's people are smart. Like they'll get it. It's
Yes.
not that crazy. Yeah. It's not that crazy.
I take this as the perfect opportunity for restaurants to do a high level review of their pricing, because even if this doesn't get voted on right now and it doesn't get approved, it doesn't mean that this is off the docket. I could actually
Right.
find articles for years that this has been talked about.
Oh yeah.
So it's going to come back up. So do a review of pricing, right? But on top of that, it might be a great way to do a review of what you're actually selling and what is your biggest sellers with highest profit margins. You don't
Yeah.
have to have a massive menu. You could become a specialty that everybody comes to you for your well-known thing that brings you the biggest profit margins. It's a great time to have a review.
Totally. I mean, I was just thinking about, I've been to a couple very high-end places that don't do tipping. They just don't. And it's for the exact reason of like, no, we're focused on this is the experience. You know, those tablecloths were so crisp and so white. Holy rip.
And you feel bad
insane.
ever like almost spilling anything on that white
Oh no,
table?
totally. Oh, I've totally spilled on them, and I'm just like, But you know, the whole, you know, it's like The Bear. You know, if you've seen The Bear on Hulu, I've been to places like that that are that crazy intense, or like the movie Burnt, etc. I think like 2 in my life. You know, amazing experiences. I can't believe I was even able to. Because I'll tell you today, not going to happen right now. That's not on my horizon right now. Not what I'm going to go look out to do. But if I get invited, I'm in. One was Charlie Trotter's, which is no longer there in Chicago, but it really was. Check came and they're like, no tip. Just we're not doing that. Here it is. We're all good. Thank you so much. It's our pleasure to have you here. It's not that, you know, you don't have to show us your pleasure of our service with a tip. You know, it's no. Our pleasure for having you. We're done. That's it. Thank you. Oh, it was great. It was absolutely great. I know a lot of places even like take the payment up front, you know, those high-end places. So you don't even think about it. You know, you've paid up front because it's, you know, it's a course dinner or whatever. And then you just have the experience. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just done. You just take it and done. And
not
then,
that looming thought of like, how much did the table order?
Exactly. Yeah. You have none of that. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So it's, I mean, and a lot of people are going to say, oh yeah, that works in like high dining, you know, and like super high luxury and whatever. It's like, I don't know. You could think it through and, you know, figure out what of that to take and make a great experience and figure out your numbers. So yeah, I know, a really neat conundrum happening in Michigan right now where the Supreme Court could rule on whether or not procedure in the legislation is going to cause tipping to disappear. And I'm sure many other states have a similar thing. So take the tips and the insights that we brought to you today, you know, review your business, your numbers, take a look at your pricing experience, and, you know, get in line with where you kind of want to be, you know.
I'd love input if there are restaurant owners that hear this, you know, from the source. Like, I'd love to hear your take on, you know, what kind of impacts you'd see, because you're the one running it day to day. You're the one in it. So
yeah. Are you looking forward to tips disappearing, or do you like the way it is? And then if you're already no tip, I think we'd love to hear from you. I'd love to talk with you. If you have a no tip restaurant, I want to say hey and just hear about how that's going and what kind of challenges you run into. I think it's really, really cool. I would love to hear about it.
Especially if you're a no tip and you don't add that cute little, if you use a credit card, here's your 3% fee.
Yeah, right. Oh, the 3% fee. We could have we need a whole thing about, do I add the fee or not? Oh my God. We'll save that for another week, because that's a pet peeve of mine. We'll get there. Anyway, all right. So if you got a story to share, whatthebiz.com, leave us a voicemail right through the website. Love to hear from you. You can always message us through the website as well. Brigitte, what do you got coming up?
Oh my goodness. We're actually just going to have a full mission on doing these diagnostic reviews. I think I mentioned it during the last episode. episode.
Yeah.
I want to make that impact for small business owners so they don't get to tax time paying more than that they have to pay. And that really should lead them into setting themselves up to have a really successful 2025. So we're going to really focus in on doing those diagnostics.
Yeah, I mean, now's the time. We're just after tax season. It's like, let's dial everything in so that when it comes around again, we're good to go. I love it. Yeah, we are, I just said, we had the new client sign on. So we're doing onboardings and projects right now. And then, yeah, that's where we're focusing at the moment. That's what's coming up.
Love it.
So cool. All right. Leave us a review wherever you're listening. It really helps people get to know about the podcast. I mean, we'd love that 5-star, obviously, but just be honest. We'd love to hear from you. And then, like I said before, you got an idea or a message for us, hit up whatthebiz.com and we'll talk to you all next week.